What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going through the last little stretch here of going through the Spark rank. I think we just need to get to the end of rank 1, which we currently are, and at the end of that, we will get some Jace sleeves. You can always check out your rankings for the game if you go up to your profile here, and then you click here, you can see that we are Spark tier rank 1, and we're Bronze tier rank 3 for limited because we did do the quick draft and did fairly well, so we did rank up in the previous month, but now since it's the beginning of the month, it has reset. And then you can see here, it's saying here with the exclamation point that you have to play a game this season in order to receive your season rewards. And at the end of every month, it starts out a new season for the month in any sort of rank play. And simply, you can go here, you can see that depending on what rank you finish out in a month, you'll get a certain payout. Typically, I would say if you're a newer player and maybe, you're still building up a collection, Mythic is one thing to strive for, but it's not always a thing that, a lot of newer players can do with a very limited collection. I would say at least getting to gold is pretty easy, and also it gives you a reward style. It gets you the max amount of gold. Sure, it only gives you 2 packs, but I do think this is definitely a good area to aim for, and anything after that is just additional packs and eventually additional cosmetic, whereas the gold doesn't change. And 1,000 gold is definitely not that bad, as it will definitely help you out overall when it comes to your end season rewards for the end of the season. Unfortunately, the Sparky rank is not affected by this. After we finish the Spark rank, then we unlock the rank play in whatever format we decide to choose. Outside of that, the only thing I got to do still here in today's video before we probably dive in is we're going to re-roll this. We're going to see if we can get our daily gold quest to roll to the 750 gold quest. If not, no big deal. But, always got to take advantage when we can to see if we can get ourselves up to that next little bit of gold, as every bit of gold definitely does help, especially building up our overall collection. After that, we are going to just do a quick survey of what we have when it comes to overall currency. We do have 10,600 gold. We have 1,450 gems. We have 10 commons, 5 uncommons. That hasn't changed since I haven't opened any additional packs or gotten any additional wildcards in any other way. We look at our overall packs. We are at 11 packs of Wilds of Eldraine, and we still have all the other free packs that you get in your inbox when you do start a brand new account. Outside, I think of the couple packs of Brothers War, and I think an additional pack of Phyrexia from doing other parts of our new player experience. We are almost on our way to rank 15, which gets us a Mastery Orb on the free tier of the Battle Pass, but every other level is where you get your additional pack. So we are a little bit away from getting that additional pack, and we have finished the weekly experience. So it's going to be definitely tough sledding until that resets on Sundays, typically for most players. That will happen, and then that will allow us to kind of grind up the Battle Pass a little bit quicker. So diving into our Sparky queue, we are going to probably start out with playing the black-white deck just because that will just get us this done pretty quickly. We're going to click on this. It'll bring us immediately to the decks that we can play in the Spark rank, and because we have a black-white deck, we're just going to play Legions of Phyrexia and see if we can grind out the last little bit of the Spark rank to get to that next and final step of the new player challenge. All right, our opponent's going to go first. Our hand is a smidge slow, but we can draw into better things. We do have the Banished Sleeper, or the Vanilla Sleeper, in case we need to get some sort of removal. So we'll keep and kind of see how the game goes. If our opponent's playing maybe also a not very fast deck, maybe we can get into this. But I do think overall it's not a bad overall starting hand. And it does seem like they are incorporating some of the newer cards. We'll just continue going, and that's plain cycling. We don't really need that additional land, so we'll kind of not do that. They're going to pay 1. It seems like they are going to add stuff to their cards. They're going to get a Scry. So we'll see how this goes. And I just have plain cycling. So that's why there's stick, and we pass. In this scenario, I do think we need to probably make them sacrifice a creature, as much as we don't get to keep a creature. It is kind of interesting that they have a play as well, but it's also possible, since they're playing the soldier deck, that they have like Resolute Reinforcements. So definitely a little bit of a struggle there. We are a little bit behind. Maybe we can get that additional land, be able to use this removal next turn. It is the one downside of going second and also being on a little bit of a slower hand against a little bit more of an aggressive opening overall for our opponent. But they have not seemed like they've really progressed the board much. We'll just do another one of these. And we'll auto-pay. We did not draw that additional land. Worst case scenario, next turn, maybe we have to use the Plain Cyclone. But if we clean up their battlefields, and now they don't really have haste, we are sitting pretty good overall. As much as we are down to 8 life, we do have not a bad hand that we could get ourselves back in this game fairly quickly once we draw those lands. And like I said, we do have removal, so it's not overall bad for us. Still haven't drawn a land though, so that is a one downside thing. Sure. We're just gonna attack, see what our opponent does. If they decide to double block, that's perfectly fine. I am kind of setting up a play here to incubate and then pretty much transform our token that we just got. So then we have the battlefield to kind of block their creatures. So if I was the opponent, I would definitely take the token, just because a token won't come back if I remove the ossification. This card kind of already did its thing. So that's kind of how that works, personally. They can have multiple, so it is one of those things that we're going to wait and see what they do here. They're wondering, I guess, why I still have the token, but they're as much as the creature transformed it, it did not actually do anything. And now we have 5 lands, so now we're going to put pressure on the battlefield. And they seem to have some sort of stick here, so I'm not really sure what it is, but I'm not going to attack. So they must have some sort of interaction that they could do with our creatures, and they don't do anything again. Definitely very curious. I guess now I put the pressure on them, see if they want to attack our block. Sure. And then we'll just play another one of these guys. And we'll say go. So our opponent got off to a quick start, but it does seem like they've drawn a little bit flat. And we'll just keep on going. I mean, we could put some additional pressure on by doing this. We then have a blocker just in case. But now our things are we're gonna swing for 14 this turn. And we're pretty much off to the races. Sure. So the whole time it's been a Destroy Evil, which then can target one of our creatures. They could have probably used that multiple different ways. We're just gonna transform and swing in for lethal. Yeah, I mean, that did not look like we were gonna get that game, but we did. Hand is perfectly fine. We do have turn 1 play if we want to go that route. We have a Phyrexian Arena, so we do have good cards. This card is definitely very solid, even as a 2/3. We're just going to start with a tap land. I could have maybe played that later because I can still set ourselves up for very good plays, but I don't think we're in any pressure really to get a bunch of things out. Though it does look like our opponent could be playing the really big deck, so that is a possibility that we may get overrun that way. And I would say if that's the case, might as well just play a 2/3. Just get out on the battlefield, kind of, you know, prevent our opponent from attacking in if that's what their plan was. But still, they don't really have a ton of attacks here to kill a 2/3. We are going to play this. We'll go to attacks, see if they block. If they have a trick, then they have a trick. If not, then good for us. And then I'm actually going to play a Phyrexian Arena, because this is going to help me draw additional cards at the cost of life. Drawing additional cards is definitely very good overall, just because it's going to help us draw deeper into our deck. All right, that is a card that's going to be a little bit of a pain for us. But I do think we could probably find a way to deal with it. I'll wait till next turn for that card. I do think it's just going to be a turn of this card and a turn of this. And then we'll just pass. Because next turn we could play this, which then buff all our creatures. We have lifelink, so that's good. So if they decide to attack in, we can still chump block with our 1/1. Whatever this fights is definitely going to gain us life in the process, because that's how that works. Sure. I'll gain 2 more life. And I don't mind taking a hit of 4 from here, just because of I have 24 life. And then next turn we have very good blocks. No blocks. We'll draw, and we'll draw. So double land is not the best, but I do think this is probably the play. Get this out, throw our team, and we'll say go. And then their attacks aren't as good unless they can pump their squad. That is a card that is going to be a problem, because that card will just grow. We'll double block the card with Vigilance. And gain 5 life back. So hopefully we can draw an answer for their big creature, which we did. That is definitely something I was hoping to do. Play this big card. And we'll take this card. And we'll swing in for 2, because we have good attacks here. We'll gain a point of life. And then we'll kind of say go. I mean, it's possible they could have another one of those dinosaurs, so that is a possibility. But it seems like the rest of their hand has been just a bunch of cards that kind of just kind of fill the board up. I don't think that's the play to attack him with that, because that's your only 4-power creature, and then your Colossal Mastery turns off. I feel like if our opponent makes this attack, this is not the right move. They don't have a hand, so they don't have any combat tricks. This only gives itself +1/+1, and they don't have enough mana even to do that. So it is kind of weird that our opponent would make that kind of attack. And it seems like they either are... I'm not sure where they are in their combat step, because they haven't retreated the attack, but it hasn't progressed to us yet. You don't want to do that. No. Opponent, that's not how that works. That's not the thinking that you want to do. And they kind of scoop because they messed up there overall. That was a misplay on their end. They shouldn't have attacked. And we are now officially into bronze rank. And now that we're technically in standard, we now have them telling us what cards are banned. So when it comes to other cards in other formats, we also have that. Banned in Alchemy, banned in Explorer. And then it's like, hey, they have Wilds Level Drain. You can get started now. We got our new packs, so we'll claim that. And it does seem like there is still a quest, which is simply just to play against Sparky. Now, that is interesting, I would say, overall, just because a Sparky game is kind of weird at the end of the Battle Pass. Or the Battle Pass, not the Battle Pass, this like new player quest, as we played Sparky very, very early on. But I am just going to do that real quick. I don't think the deck really matters overall, just because Sparky decks are very basic, and Sparky does not know how to really play Magic very well. So we'll just play with one of the decks. Doesn't really matter here. We're on the play. Hand's fine. Probably have to...
I'm a planeswalker.
Probably just have to deal with one of the colors. Nothing too crazy here. We'll play our 2-drop, which is a 0/3. We could get this back into our hand, which is not a bad option. If our opponent decides, if Sparky decides to kill it, I guess that's the play. We'll just continue playing our hand out. Do I mill ourselves? I guess we mill ourselves. And I didn't get a single creature, and we milled a lot of land, so that's not good for us. I think it was all three. We got 2 land in a spell. We'll block. This is where Sparky does not make very good decisions because that block is not very solid. And we got a tap. We got one of our tap lands, so there is that. No attacks because we do 0 damage. They play another 2/1, which is fine. And they play a rat. Now that's a card that you want to get rid of out of the whole board that Sparky has, just because of its ability to kind of kill any of your creatures. Though Sparky is very good about... and you know what? We're not going to do it yet because I'd rather play that spell before its kicker. But Sparky's very good about getting things back with this deck from the graveyard to their hand. We'll play the big old 3/4. It blocks better. We'll get an Acropolis back to our hand, or on top of our library. No attacks. There's a possibility that Sparky doesn't attack, or does. Sometimes Sparky's weird like that, where they will attack just to kind of do something, but we'll take 1 point of damage. We're not worried about it. And then we'll just kind of progress the board this way. Get in the air, but next. I could attack, and Sparky more than likely will trade up, which is not a bad idea. So I do think we'll do that. And see how many creatures Sparky puts in front. That's a perfectly fine trade, I would say. I get rid of 2 creatures. Sparky only has a card that gets back 1 creature from the graveyard. We are going to bounce this back to their hand, power it up, so now it's a 2/2, so the 1/1 doesn't do anything. Only makes it a 1/1 unless they have another one. Alright, Sparky with the combat tricks. But I still think from here we're perfectly fine, because Sparky has no hand, and we are full of power in our hand overall. I think we just play the big card, and then we'll pass. This card will slowly drain Sparky out. No blocks. And it seems like we're just drawing the biggest cards from our graveyard. Let's do this. And everyone's gonna mill. I'll get back both these creatures. And then I'll just sit back and pass. We'll take 1. And we'll just play our flyer again. I do think I'll attack here. We'll kill one of their creatures in the process. They'll double block. We'll just kill one of these. Drain our opponent, still do damage, get rid of 2 creatures. So, not a bad 2 for 2. Sparky's going to attack. We're not going to block. Yeah, we're kind of at the point that the game has kind of ended for the most part. I guess we'll play this. We'll give that. And we will make each opponent sacrifice power spells. We'll spread the wealth of counters to all our creatures. As much as we could gain a bunch of life, might as well just spread it around, because there are removal spells in the Sparky deck. Sparky could have removal. I'm not sure, because Sparky did not play anything. We'll swing in again. Sparky is at 1. We'll fill the board up with things. And I'm not really sure what Sparky could have at this point. We'll just put the most powerful spell we have in our deck on top of our library. Plays a land. And my guess is Sparky just has a land. And we're just going to pump. It's Sparky. You can do whatever you want against Sparky. And it doesn't really matter. And our one creature is going to kill Sparky with a drain effect. And kind of weird, but Sparky's always good about testing out decks, seeing if the synergy works. But kind of weird that it asks us to do it at this point of the quest. Sure, we'll equip. I don't want the Teferi sleeves, and now that main quest is done. So kind of a very quick last rank. We now, like I said, have moved out of the play of playing in Sparky queue. There is no more Sparky queue whatsoever, so you can't even go back into it if you want to play against people that are still new to the game. The game assumes at this point, since you played your way through, did all the events, you're now ready to jump into some sort of queue. This is where you have to make as a player of what format you want to play in, as the game does offer 4 different formats in the actual ranked queue outside of limited. So you do have your standard rank, which is similar to actual standard in real life. You have alchemy, which is a digitally only format where you can only play with cards from certain sets, and you can play with also cards that have digital only sort of mechanics that you can't really do in real life. You have historic, which is kind of like alchemy, but it's alchemy including all the cards that are in the game, so it goes all the way back to the first sets of the game, and they kind of always, every few months, they always seem to release new cards for this format, just added like older cards and things like that. And then Explorer is kind of our bridge in between Standard and then kind of like Pioneer, and Explorer is kind of like that branch to the Pioneer format until they add all those cards, which they are slowly doing, but it is yet again another format that doesn't rotate, just like Historic. These two are non-rotating formats, whereas these two every year do have a rotation in September. So it is one of those things at this point, as a player, you kind of want to make that suggestion. But for the sake of the video, I do think as a new player who's getting into the game, it's always better to pick probably like Standard for the most part, though they did recently change how Standard overall works, which I do have a video for. But I do think Standard is the best format, especially if you're looking to start with MTG Arena and then maybe go eventually play at a card store or something like that. Standard is kind of those formats that translates pretty well to other card stores, though I'm not sure how many card stores run a Standard format event for the most part, but still, nonetheless, I do think it's probably the easiest to get into when it comes to overall what you're collecting. And for the most part, the game rewards buying the newer stuff, so it is one of those things that when it comes to the older sets, it's harder to get into them because I don't get any added benefit if I decide to buy packs from older sets that are no longer Standard or Alchemy legal, so that's kind of where it gets a little weird. Outside of that, we do have the play queue. We can play in all those formats that I just explained in ranked, but we play in a non-ranked format where it's a little more casual. You will see people in this format play with meta decks, I guess, as they're practicing. Maybe they want to, immediately jump in to the ranked because they still want to get the idea of how the deck exactly works. So you can play in any of these formats with any of your decks. Or you can play against Sparky here, which we just did. I guess the game was like, hey, you still can play against Sparky even though you complete the new player challenge. And then you have Brawl. Brawl is kind of one of those things that's kind of like Commander, but it's not at the same time because the card pools aren't the same. It's not the same at the same time. Historic Brawl is the closest thing to real Commander, though you're only playing against one player, so it does work a little bit differently how a regular Commander game, which would be played with up to 4 players, would work. The games are a little bit more aggressive. This is a format where it's singleton, so you only have to own 1 copy of the card in your deck. You can't play with more than 1 copy outside of basic lands. But yet again, this is one of those formats you would dive into maybe later down the road when you start building up a collection, as these are a little bit more intensive when it comes to what currency you need overall. And I do think at this point, as a new player, this is kind of where you have to decide of what steps I want to do next. So as a player, you can do one of 2 things. There's the option of diving into and starting an up draft. As you see here, we do have enough to do 1 premier draft or 2 quick drafts. So that is one option you can do. Depending on how you feel about overall drafting as a player, you could do that if you like drafting and that's kind of your game style. Drafting is definitely very beneficial, especially if you're very good at it, as typically drafts will reward more currency at the end. As you see here, if you dive into Premier Draft compared to Quick Draft, the overall rewards you get per win is more beneficial, though it is a little bit steeper in the overall cost. As you see here, 1,500 gems or 10,000 gold. As you see here at the bottom, you still get 50 gems in 1 pack, but as you go up, the gems go up, the packs eventually go up, and these are guaranteed packs, whereas the other one's like a chance at a pack, and you are able to win multiple packs. And really to finish even is roughly about 5 wins, whereas I think Quick Draft was 6 wins where you go over. This is like 4 or 5 wins will get you right around the amount of gems you need to do another event. Also, it gives you 3 packs, which is pretty sweet. 5 wins will get you 4 packs and 1,600 gems. Though the only difference between this and a quick draft is that you're actually drafting against real players, whereas in a quick draft you're drafting against bots. So there is a timer in your selections, and as you go deeper into a pack, the timer gets shorter and shorter, making you have to have quick decisions. So there is that. This is, like I said, one option, though I do think for the sake of the video, as a casual who's just getting into the game, I don't think this is something I would personally recommend immediately as you're still learning the game, because making these tough choices about which cards to take is kind of an investment in just learning the game overall, and it's something that not a lot of new players really know off the bat. And I would say as you get more comfortable with Magic and you explore other cards, this is something you could eventually go into if you want to go that route and save up currency to dive into these type of events. But I do like the idea how the game kind of introduces you to the fact that these events do exist. Also, as you notice, there are other events that have popped up in our events tab. I think this happened a couple videos ago where I got most of these events unlocked. There are events for particular formats. If you want to do, for example, a standard event is kind of like another event where you bring your standard deck or alchemy deck or historic deck, or I do think there's an explorer version of this. And depending on how well you do, you will get some gems back for it. It does only cost 375 gems. You keep playing until you lose 3 matches, and every win you get some gems to eventually then get, a pack. And as you go up more and more and get to 5 wins, this is where you kind of go slightly over the entry cost and you get 2 packs. And at the end here, you'll get 500 gems, 3 packs, and 1 play-in point. Play-in points are kind of this currency they added into the game a while back, where it's something that you can eventually accrue up to, I think, about 20, and then you can use these points to kind of get into those weekend qualifiers that they sometimes run in the game that you'll see advertised on the home screen. So I do think this is another good idea to try out as a new player if you want to maybe try something a little bit more competitive than just playing in the rank queue. Just because sometimes the rank queue gets a little stale, whereas these events are a bit more random, and sometimes your matchups are based upon your overall record and not actually the deck itself, whereas I do think the rank queue kind of tries to match a deck that is relatively even with the overall power level of your deck. But like I said, at this point, as a new player, I would suggest probably just using your currency and buying packs. Typically here, with 10,950 gold, I can get 10 packs essentially, because every pack is 1,000 gold. With the 1,450 gems, I think that's roughly about 6 packs, if I'm not mistaken. You can go to the store here. You can take a quick look at the pack section once it loads, and go to packs. And you can take a look here, and you can see the conversion of how many packs you get for X amount of gems or X amount of gold, or you can buy individual packs. I personally think that instead of buying individual packs every time you earn enough currency for one of them, you should probably build up to unlocking a bunch of packs all at once, just because I do think getting that a bunch of influx of cards will be overall more beneficial to the collection, and it kind of makes a goal for you as a new player to kind of strive for. So personally, I would say that's how I would approach buying packs, and I do think I noted in my community tab when I was talking about this challenge that I at least want to make it a minimum that I have to buy at least 6 packs every time I buy packs. So in this instance, because I have a decent amount of gems, I can buy roughly about 16 additional packs of the newest set. And what this also will do, if you buy the newest set, the game has this track progress for golden packs. And what this will do is you have to purchase 10 total packs of the newest set. In this case, it's Wilds of Eldraine. Once you get to 10, you get this golden pack, and a golden pack will contain 6 rares, each with a normal chance to upgrade into a mythic rare. So this is kind of like another good way to boost up your overall rare and mythic count. This pack won't have any wild cards in it, so you won't get any rare or mythic wild cards in it, but getting these additional cards are definitely a good way to build up your overall collection. And I think the way the packs work, are there any sort of cards that are technically legal in the format? I haven't opened up in a while, so I don't know if this also includes cards that are only alchemy. Like, for example, you see here there's Lord of the Rings. This is an alchemy only set, and it does say here that this cannot be played in a current standard format. So the game does note to you what cards are standard legal, what cards aren't standard legal. Another way, if you look at the store, is at the top here. Eventually, when a set rotates out, it'll get this bronze color, and that will say that this can only be played in historic formats. So that is kind of another way that the game tells you, like, hey, this set cannot be played in a current, like the current formats or the formats that do have a rotation overall, which I do think is very beneficial. So another thing the game does have overall that you can do as a new player that is another added benefit is there are ways of getting free packs without actually having to spend any currency. And I have mentioned this in past videos when I've looked over my packs, talking about how eventually at the end of this, I will add in codes to get these free packs. You may have noticed on PC, you may notice that there's this section that says redeem code, and this is where you would actually enter these codes that are available. You can just simply do a search online that says MTG free pack codes. Typically there's most of the websites will have the latest and greatest packs, and this will essentially contain any packs that have been added into the game prior to them adding the mailbox system. The mailbox system is the new way they kind of give you packs. So that is kind of one of the things they're kind of going away from. I think this is also in part, if you're on mobile, you don't have this little redeem code area. You actually have to physically go on Wizards website. And I do have a guide up here. And this is essentially kind of the list I'll have. This is the link I'll have down in the description below. But this is essentially a website here that I kind of use every now and then for this purpose of looking to see if there's any free codes for packs in the game. It kind of is just an article with some ads, of course. But if you look here, you can kind of take a quick look. This is like the latest non-unique code, which is threads. So if I enter the word threads up in this top right-hand corner, it will say the code has been redeemed successfully. And what I will get is 1,000 XP, which is essentially one mastery pass level. And this typically you do things like this every time that there is some sort of problem with the game. They kind of reward you with some free XP because maybe you can't do something or play matches. So they're like, hey, get a free master pass level for the lack of playtime. Though now again, I do think they still add this to the mail system, so you don't actually have to do that. Another thing to note here, this website does have a way to redeem codes. It does go into the way of how to redeem codes on PC. Also, if you are on mobile or not on a device that has this top thing, you can also go into your web browser and physically log on to your Wizards account. This website will give you the step-by-step process of how to do that. And there's an area that you would redeem the codes that way. But if we scroll down far enough, you will eventually see here that there are all these packs here that we can essentially type in and copy these codes into our game and pretty much add them into our collection. And for the most part, we should be able to go all the way back to Theros and get free packs all the way up to Theros, as there is no expiration date for these packs. As well as if you go further down, there are also ways of possibly getting sleeves. I don't know if all these codes work, because I do think I tried to do this when I was trying to make a free account talking about the new changes to the game. I don't think all these codes worked. And then you kind of go down here and there are other codes here. Maybe Melon works for additional XP. I don't really know. Like I said, they don't always work. As you see there, it said code failure, and I entered exactly how the website had it. Maybe there was a typo. Maybe we'll just type melon, but it does not seem that the word melon is actually a code. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go through and I'm going to enter all these pack codes, and then we'll kind of see how many packs we are working with when it comes to opening them up. Now that we're done entering the pack codes, you can see here we have all our packs that we had originally up to this Brothers War pack, I believe, or was this Brothers War pack? It was one of them. We had X amount of packs of Brothers War of the Alchemy set. I think we got these after the fact. But if we keep on scrolling, we now have all these additional packs that we now can open. Most of these sets are not standard legal, but I do think these packs are definitely worth it to add into your account, because every 6 packs we open up when it comes to these wheels here will get us a rare wild card, as you notice here. We already have 1 progress, and we already have 4 progress here. Though I do think these counted when I opened up draft packs. Not really 100% sure, because we only opened up 3 draft packs. I'm not really sure how I got any sort of progress, and we have not opened up any sort of packs in the game whatsoever. So it is kind of interesting that these already have progress, but maybe they kind of jumpstart you with a little bit of progress. I'm not really sure overall. But like I said, each of these packs can also contain wildcards in them, which will then also help us out overall when it comes to crafting cards that we may not have. And I will probably dive into that in the next video, as I do think these are some things that you can definitely look forward to when it comes to that. I'll open up all my packs. We'll kind of see what we're left with. We'll go to the store. We'll buy all the packs we can buy with the amount of currency we have, which will be about 16 additional packs on top of what we have here. But with that being said, if you like the video, hit that like button. If you have suggestions about what you maybe want me to build when it comes to building that first deck here in Arena, let me know in the comments below. And if you're new here, you want to continue following the series that I'm doing here on the channel, hit that subscribe button. But until next time, I'll see you in the next video.